Hello to all our viewers tuning in from across the world. Welcome to the TRBusiness December e-zine and the TRBusiness YouTube channel. I'm delighted to be speaking to two gentlemen from Maison Lanson, the Reims-based champagne house, for our Wines and Spirits special edition. I have Franc ois Van Aal, president of Maison Lanson, and Edouard de Boissieu, who's the head of travel retail. Gentlemen, pleasure to be speaking to you both today.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke.
Hi there, both. Francois, if I can begin with yourself as we conclude 2021, another challenging year for the business, for travel retail specifically. But I want to ask you overall where Maison Lanson is placed at this point in time, moving into 2021. How's the business fared?
Yeah. Okay, look. Well, let me say a few words about the champagne industry first, and then Lanson in particular, and then Edouard and myself will talk more precisely about travel retail. So the champagne business, it's a fun category to work for because each year can be totally different than the previous one. From 2020 to 2021, there is a 180 degrees turnaround in the champagne market performance. As you know, in 2020, with the COVID, the market was down about 20% on champagne category, and this year is plus 30%. This year, the champagne category is going to hit 315 million bottles, which is the second biggest world record after 2007, which was 330 million. Last year in 2020, it was only 245 million bottles. So you see a very, very strong and healthy recovery in 2021 versus last year. This year will end up around 5.5 billion euros turnover for the champagne category. So this is clearly due to the reopening of the markets, vaccine, reopening of celebration, people getting together, and I would say also technically some stock being refurbished at importers and across the markets across the world. After a 2020 year, which was very low visibility on the future, now that the world is reopening, the importers, the markets are stocking up back again champagne. So there's I would say a bit of technical explanation of this huge growth in 2021, but it's very, very happy and very healthy. Lanson in particular is, I would say, following this trend with a very strong recovery. We are above the 2019 volumes shipments. As you know, 2019 is a better benchmark than 2020. So we're going to be above 2019, so pre-COVID shipments, but at a much more healthy value and net price. And across the world, it depends, but it's mostly the UK, US, and Russia, which have been the star markets in 2021 for Lanson.
Some very healthy numbers there, Francois, both for the champagne industry, but indeed Lanson. In terms of Lanson this year, was the harvest a successful one this year? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's what's also funny about the champagne industry. Last year, with the drop of shipments, the appellation of champagne was very limited, but the quality and the quantity was very high in 2020. This year is totally opposite. Shipments are very strong, market is very healthy, but the quantity that were able to be harvested were not astronomical. It was only this year in 2021 harvest 7,500 kilos per hectares, which was able to be harvested, whereas the appellation was 10,000 kilos per hectares. So it's a very low harvest 2021 in terms of quantity, especially in the organic wines, because the nature has affected the vineyards, especially the frost, but also mostly I would say a huge amount of rain in May, June, July, and very difficult to treat such a heavy rain, historically high heavy rain, during these months, and it brought a lot of mildew, this leaf disease, which affected a lot the quantity. Now, in terms of quality, Well, we're not at the 2018, 2019, 2020 years, which were three exceptional years in a row. But I must say that the quality is okay. And we might see in a few years a few 2021 vintage, very nice wine. It's just low quantity, but okay quality, 2021. But it's not the harvest that we remember the most over the last decade, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Francois. Moving to yourself, Edouard, how would you characterize travel retail's performance this year? Obviously, we've witnessed very encouraging signs in Asia now for some time. I know that's a target market, and we've seen the international borders slowly reopening, albeit cautiously, in Europe, particularly from June, July, with the deployment of the new vaccination regimes and COVID passports. So how are you placed right now? How's the business placed right now? Obviously, there's uncertainty with the new variant that's been coming to the fore and has emerged in recent weeks. What are your thoughts?
Well, this has been a challenging year indeed, as you can imagine. The champagne category in travel retail in 2021 was about -50% at most of the travel retail operators. Lanson has been doing -35%. So versus the -50% of the category, we can say it's kind of good performance in challenging markets, and this is because we still believe, and despite all the situation, despite what's the travel retail industry is suffering at the moment, we still believe that it's a key industry, it's a key channel, and we kept doing activations, we kept promoting in travel retail, we kept doing visibility in travel retail, and we did some very qualitative events in terms of image, and this has been working quite well. So we still believe in it, despite the fact that yes, the situation is not helping, the situation is challenging, and of course the uncertainty is here. But generally speaking, what we can see when we spend quite a lot of time at the moment talking to the major players on the retail side in travel retail, and what we can see is that there is a strong willingness in moving ahead. We know that there is a high level of uncertainty in terms of traffic to come, of course, with the new variants coming and all, but more and more the industry and the travel in general is getting organized to cope with the health situation, and we believe that people will keep traveling at least as much as they can. This is why we keep being positive towards the situation and the uncertainty.
We're no doubt better prepared, and of course the restoration of our physical events in the industry is very welcome. And at TFWA Cannes recently, you were able to introduce to visitors and your key clients 2 new bottlings and some tasting opportunities on Le Blanc de Blanc and Le Black Reserve, which of course was launched pre-COVID, but it's taken up to this time to enable that exposure. What sort of reaction, Edouard, have you had since the launch, and crucially since the conclusion of the Cannes event for the liquids?
Yes, not an easy task as well, launching new products in an industry which is suffering so much at the moment, when you hear a lot about range reduction and so on. But the perception of these 2 new cuvées was very good, actually. Since Cannes, since we had the opportunity to present it physically in Cannes, because we had the opportunity to discuss about it before, but then we had the opportunity to taste it with the buyers, and the perception was really good and positive as well, because we can now say that some of these new cuvées are now being listed in the range of some of the operators for next year, which is a very good news indeed. When you know how difficult it is to introduce new products and to enlarge the ranges in such a period. So yes, very good feedback. And for instance, we did an activation in Nice. I think you heard about it and maybe you saw it. But and this one was a great experience. And it was Nice airport, and we managed to multiply the sales within this store by 12, versus same period in 2019, which is showing that when you activate now, when you did some nice visibility promotions with tastings and using someone who is trying to talk about the product, it could work in the travel retail, because travelers are not expecting to see this at the moment in the airports. And when they see this, they just take time to go and discuss and taste, and then they buy the products. So we are really happy with this. So it can work still.
Edouard, how do you build on the success of the launch of these two cuvées with a view to expansion now in travel retail? Are there particular markets that you have your eye on? I know we mentioned Asia a bit earlier. A lot's happened in the last 18 months. Does that commitment still remain the same? Are there other markets you're looking to explore?
Yes, it does. It does. We want to first of all secure and confirm our positions in Europe, where we are strong for sure in the travel retail. But we definitely have some growth potential in both Asia and the US, where the brand has not been so much represented so far. And we are clearly expanding on the domestic markets in these two areas. And we see a great potential to expand in the travel retail as well. Because we believe that the demand will come from the domestic. So yes, these are still the two areas which we want to, where we want to develop the brand in the coming year.
And I want to turn at this point to Francois in terms of the changing nature of how champagne is perceived. Throughout the pandemic, lots happened. Consumers' perceptions have pivoted. Their demands have pivoted. We're seeing increased popularity in, of course, other segments, sparkling wine. And the definition of luxury, some would argue, has changed, is changing. What's your view on that, Francois? The idea that we're seeing a difference in how luxury goods are perceived as a result of these factors, and kind of what's the interpretation of that, I guess, from your perspective?
Yeah, good question. Maybe say a few words about champagne in particular and then luxury in general. But champagne, look, is hot. I mean, clearly we are suffering in travel retail channel through the lack of traffic, and it's going to take a few years to recover. But in domestic market in general across the world, champagne is hot because champagne is synonymous with celebration, with getting together, and there is not a better period after this confinement for people to be together and buy champagne after the confinement. So it's a very strong market, very strong growth across the world, with of course the specific travel retail, which is still trying to catch up from the traffic numbers we have seen pre-COVID. So it's not the champagne which is suffering in travel retail. It's travel retail indeed, but champagne within travel retail is doing okay considering the context. Now, in terms of luxury, I would say that what has changed maybe the perception that people have on luxury in general after the COVID is that people are more and more conscious about the importance of the brands and the corporations to have a social and environmental responsibility. So it's not only a brand, but it's how is the brand made? Is the brand sustainable? Does it have a corporate social responsibility? And we have seen that the carbon print in 2020 went down by -7% in the world due to the activity being lowered and less traffic and less flight and less people taking their cars and using carbon. So I think people are really looking at brands which have a mission, which has a raison d'être, and they go for those brands. And now the second part of your question is about sparkling wines. I think there is room for everyone. And Prosecco from Italy, Cava from Spain, sparkling wine. Now you see wines also in sparkling wine in UK, actually across the world. But champagne will always be very specific. It's an AOC champagne, AOC protected. You can only make champagne from France. It's very limited quantities. I think now is this year 315 million plus bottles were reaching the full capacity of this 35,000 hectares land. Champagne also is very different in terms of value and pricing. You mentioned luxury. Clearly, champagne is a high retail price, but there's reasons behind. Cost of grapes, know-how, 5 years aging minimum, and you don't really compare champagne with other sparkling wines. And we actually look at our competitors within the champagne industry, but we let Prosecco, Cava, and these other guys do their own markets, which again is different targets, different people, different consumers, and different brands.
And Lanson clearly places a strong emphasis on, ascribes strong value to sustainability, Francois, and you touched on it there, and indeed Edouard has as well. And in the past, we've seen obviously the company add to its permanent range the Lanson Green Label. Indeed, you've hired a vineyards and sustainable development manager to your operations.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you're trying to broaden your environmental commitments as a company into 2022.
Yeah, I think today a brand, a company, a corporation cannot function in a healthy way without integrating a strategy, a vision on social responsibility, or corporate responsibility. It has to be in the DNA of the company, of the brands. Today, people are more looking about how the company is presenting themselves rather than a commodity goods of buying sparkling wines and drinking it. So it's very important to have a very strong strategy. And Lanson has not waited for this, I would say, strong trend, which has appeared a decade or a couple of decades ago, and now is taking a huge part of the discussion around brands, because for many years Lanson has been already committed in emblematic actions, and the visible part of the iceberg for Lanson is our green label cuvée. Out of the range of 10 cuvées we have in the Lanson range, we have a full organic biodynamic cuvée, which is called the green label, which is made out of 16 hectares, which is owned by Lanson. And it's a very strong commitment for us also to test what can be done on this type of wines, which is not easy to make compared to classic wine. So we've worked as well on a new CSR, corporate social responsibility strategy, which is I would say translating into 3 words: terroir, people, and wines. So terroir represents the environmental pillar through respect and sustainability of terroir. People is showing the social and societal pillar through kindness and know-how of people working Champagne. And the third pillar, which is wine, is showing the economic pillar of the CSR with the value and the quality of wines. So we have actions already initiated, but we also have a lot of actions short-term, long-term to try to help also the planet be in a better place in a few years from now, but also socially within the company. We try to have a lot of thinking of what practice we have within the company. So the CSR is really englobing a lot of subjects, and we take it very seriously indeed.
And as you look across the market, Francois, do you see enough being done to promote sustainable viticulture in the champagne segment?
in travel retail, is it promoted enough?
Well, yeah, in travel retail, but indeed in general.
Yeah, well, I would say that it's the brand owners, the brands that have a responsibility to come up with products, with messages, with a vision, with a strategy which reflects the values of the company. Now, the retail side obviously is very, open and very curious about how they can, optimize this subject, which is really at the heart of the brands today. Now, there are a few, I would say, high-profile promotions or special displays which reflect these, sustainable products. But I think more can be done, and more will be done in the future, because I think the distribution channels, including, of course, travel retail, also has a role to play to push and to help the brands that are making the efforts to go to this direction.
Thank you, Francois. I want to give the final word now to Edouard on the travel retail side, but we'll flip back to yourself. Given the challenges we faced in the past 18 months, how is the travel retail business positioned strategically moving now into 2022? What are your chief priorities? You mentioned Europe and consolidating the business now. Beyond that territory, what for you is crucial now as we face uncertainty, but opportunity, as we've touched on in the first quarter? Edouard first.
Definitely. Just to come back to the previous topic, which is interesting, I think, in terms of sustainability. I think not enough is being done so far on the travel retail side to promote sustainable products. But definitely, we can see that this is changing. This is changing in all the conversations that we've been having in the past weeks with the retailers. Most of them are now having an approach where they want to create some specific ranges of sustainable products. They want to create some specific spaces within the stores, like corners or special shelves dedicated to these kind of products. And clearly, this is going to help also the brands and the suppliers to move ahead and be able to propose this kind of product. So, generally speaking, as Francois said, it's on both sides. It's on the supplier side and on the retailer side, but we can see that not enough has been done so far, but it's changing slightly, which is great. Now, regarding the 2022 in travel retail, this channel is remaining strategic for us. We wish to keep moving ahead in travel retail. We wish to keep enlarging our range. We want to keep increasing our visibility in travel retail, because we perceive it as a great show window on the world, because it's really helping the awareness of a brand, and definitely this channel is helping on this. So we want to move ahead, and we may also have some launches to do in 2022 within our range. Many things happened in the past few years on Lanson range, and we are one or two big new product that we're about to launch, and we are thinking of giving the exclusivity of the launch to travel retail. So this is only a project at the moment, but we are thinking about this, and travel retail might be the first channel to have one of our great projects available first. So yes.
I'm sure stakeholders in the business will be looking at the lips of that proposition. Francois, would you like to add your closing comments?
No, I would just finish to say that we're actually quite confident on the future for the champagne industry, for travel retail. When traffic coming back, I think there's very strong and very positive year ahead of travel retail. It's a matter of how fast will travel retail recover. So very confident in long term, and I will always believe that there is some good in a crisis, and we've gone through a year and a half of very difficult business trade environments, but this is also an opportunity to rethink the way we do things, to identify solutions and to go faster into the rolling out of the strategy. So we are now going for the last 3 years really at Lanson into a quality value strategy, and it's going to be in 2022 again our momentum ahead. I would say the biggest challenge to growth next year, why not, would be if the champagne is growing as much as 2021 in the coming years, it would be availability of supply. And we see today in 2021 already, some brands, including Lanson in the UK, struggled to be able to ship the quantity ordered and the demand. And then, of course, on the vineyards, there is a more long-term challenge, which is the climate change. And the climate change is really affecting. You can see from 2020 harvest to 2021 harvest such a difference. It's very difficult to today to really make sure that the quantity of supply will be at the level of the demand. So quite a few challenges, but I would say positive and confident for the future.
Well, what a note to end on. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to me today. Van Aal and Edouard. Thank you, and we look forward to tracking Lanson's progress with interest into 2022 and beyond. Thank you very much.
Right. See you soon. Thanks, Luke.